actually just sat and watched the PokeTunes episode featuring Gardevoir because weirdos online wouldn't stop spurging out about it. Like, oh man, is it romanticizing the relationships between human and Pokemon? Is it legitimizing Gardevoir as a waifu? Is it possible to fuck this thing? Like that was kind of the narrative going around. So I went ahead, watched it, and it was a very basic, wholesome Pokemon episode about a trainer and his Pokemon. That's really all this is, and all of the projection you see from people about like sexualizing this thing is just projection because there's nothing really sexual about Gardevoir. There's nothing really sexual about the episode. There's nothing sexual about Pokemon, and yet you have all these people projecting about something that simply isn't there. And this is kind of a reoccurring problem when it comes to online discussions regarding media is that a bunch of terminally online internet weirdos come up with some weird fringe like fan fiction theory about a character or a game or a franchise, and they're upset when that thing is debunked. I think a really good recent example would be Bayonetta 3, in which Bayonetta gets dicked down and she has a daughter, which is something that a lot of people were very dead set against because they had somehow gaslit themselves into thinking that she was in a lesbian relationship with her rival, Jean. So, this kind of weird, like performative, just like trying to legitimize their insane worldview, like just these kind of people are actively ruining franchises, they're ruining brands, they're genuinely just kind of undermining everything wholesome and enjoyable about Pokemon in order to push like some weird like agenda like I want to fuck that thing. It's just it really needs to stop. It's embarrassing. I've been very vocal about this for the longest time, but like these internet weirdos are just really ruining the brand for everyone else, especially the target demographic. Like being younger, when I was younger, looking at this stuff online, it just kind of came off as like weird and out there and ridiculous. And like, you almost think like it's like parody almost, but it's not. These guys are so terminally online and so out of touch with reality that they really think that Gardevoir would be like their ideal waifu. It's just so bizarre and so ridiculous and really should be dismissed. And honestly, I do think this needs to be like, more of a thing going forward is that we do need to speak out about this more. We do need to speak out about these weird misinterpretations of children's media. We do need to speak out against degeneracy. We do need to speak out against these kinds of people because if this is allowed to run rampant, eventually some fan is going to like make it his life mission to join the company and then make an entire Gardevoir waifu sim where it could happen hypothetically, right? It's not impossible. So it's something that we as a community really should be rallying against more. Like we need to protect this brand from these evil adults. We need to be like the Phantom Thieves and steal away their depraved desires. All right. We need to do something about this because this is going way out of hand because nobody is talking about this episode because it's genuinely well made or produced or because they like the characters or the vibe or the animation. Like, no, the reason people are excited about this is because they want to simp over Gardevoir. And this is something that is 100% like unacceptable. Like this is something that should just not be allowed, and that's kind of my mindset at this point. Is that there's nothing wrong with the episode itself? It's perfectly cute. It's wholesome. It's a trainer and his Pokemon, right? And that Pokemon is Gardevoir. But at the same time, Gardevoir has this stigma. It has this reputation, and it's by no fault of its own, but the rabid fanboys who just obsess over this thing constantly and freak out over its existence. Like it is embarrassingly cringy and really should be thought of as just one of the many, 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 many examples of how this fan base is kind of predatory and needs to be exposed because a lot of people were surprised when like Bulbapedia was exposed as being full of pedophiles when I wasn't because I saw this kind of thing happen, like being tangentially associated with the Pokemon community, like I've seen people do this kind of thing and I've always been speaking out about it, even back when I was younger, but it's something that keeps going under the radar. I don't know if people keep sweeping it up or if they ignore it, but it cannot be understated that the sexually depraved aspect of the Pokemon community needs to be called out. Like this is just completely unacceptable and needs to be addressed as just being a problem in the community. So with that being said, what can we do about this? I think just acknowledging it's a problem would be a good first step. Acknowledging that like it's perverse and wrong and degenerate, and just kind of emphasizing the good aspects of Gardevoir, the stuff that like everyone enjoys. The design, like the abilities, like the Pokemon as a whole. Like instead of just like this weird like twisted like fetishization of like a Pokemon and its trainer. It's just downright disgusting and really should be addressed as such. So I think simply just acknowledging that this problem exists would be a good first step in how to correct it. I do think that for the Pokemon community, especially when it comes to like officially sanctioned events and communities, really needs to police this kind of thing more. Is kind of my mindset on it because there's no real reason to allow this to continue. There's no real reason to like to obsess over Gardevoir the way that people have been doing for the past like 20 years, right? This is something that I think like needs to be talked about is that like there is a real problem here. Like we do need to address it. We do need to address the community and the Pokemon and the reputation surrounding it. Like this kind of thing is actively making the product worse. And it's something that we really need to acknowledge and talk about and come to some kind of solution for this problem. And I think right now, simply just mocking people who love Gardevoir for the wrong reasons would be a very, very good step. Gardevoir is a great Pokemon, but I do not want to see this children's media character sexualized or fetishized by fans.